This is the iPhone 12 mini and the iPhone 12 Pro Max. One is the smallest iPhone Apple's made in years, and the other is the biggest phone it's ever made. Here's what you need to know. Now, let's start with the iPhone 12 mini. Now, if you've seen the iPhone 12 already, it's basically that, but smaller. Same processor, same cameras, same design, same everything. But instead of the iPhone 12's 6.1-inch display, the 12 mini has a 5.4-inch screen. And don't let those numbers fool you. While that screen may sound bigger than, say, the 2020 iPhone SE or the iPhone 8, Apple's actually made a much smaller phone because it's shifted to that no-bezel design that it introduced with the iPhone 10. The result is something that's really small by the standards of a 2020 flagship. The Mini is also Apple's cheapest 2020 iPhone. It starts at $729. Now, compare that to last year, where the default cheap iPhone, the iPhone 11, cost $699. But that was with a 6.1-inch screen. If you wanted Apple's smaller phone, which again was still a 5.8-inch screen, you had to shell out $1,000 for an iPhone 11 Pro. So what's it like to actually, hold and use an iPhone 12 mini? Well, it's nice. It's a small iPhone. It still fits really nicely into your hand. The hardware is great. The screen looks great. It's just smaller. It's honestly a bit weird to hold at first. If you're watching this video on an iPhone right now, there's a good chance that it's much bigger than the iPhone 12 mini. But despite the smaller size, all the software still looks normal because, again, Apple hasn't actually put a smaller screen on here. It's a bigger screen compared to those older sizes. It's just a smaller body. There are some things that do take some adjustment, especially if you're coming from a bigger iPhone. Things like typing on a screen that's this small, at least comparatively, definitely is going to take some getting used to. But on the flip side, there's some things that are really nice, like swiping down from the top of the screen to get to control center your notifications, which you can actually do with one hand without having to stretch your thumb all the way across the screen. It's delightful, and it's honestly hard to go back to doing that even on a full-sized iPhone 12. For the first time since the iPhone 6, Apple has made what you can arguably call a one-handed iPhone again that almost anyone should be able to comfortably use without having to, juggle it between two hands. Now, there are some concerns. The smaller screen and smaller size means that Apple has, by necessity, put in a smaller battery. And with 5G and the OLED panel and everything else, there's definitely going to be some concerns here that you could see lower battery life. Now, we'll have a lot more on that in our full review. Make sure you subscribe and you'll see that as soon as we have it up. Now, on literally the other end of the spectrum is the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which with a 6.7-inch screen is the biggest iPhone that Apple has ever made. This thing is big. It is really, really big. Honestly, if you look at it side by side with the 12 mini, it's almost hard to believe that these are basically at their core the same phone. Unlike the 12 mini, which was basically just a smaller iPhone 12, the 12 Pro Max does have one big difference between it and the regular 12 Pro. Apple's taking advantage of the bigger size to introduce a brand new camera system with a much bigger main sensor and a new telephoto lens. Now, given how good the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro's camera is, that's really exciting. Unfortunately, we don't have time to get into any of that now, so again, make sure to subscribe and we'll get into all the details on that in our full review. As for how big the 12 Pro Max is to actually hold and use, look, I'm a big guy, I have big hands, and it is hard for me to hold this phone and reach the top corners. It's a surfboard. It can be a little deceptive if you see it on its own, because proportionally it just looks like an iPhone. But if you see it next to, say, a smaller iPhone, you can immediately see just how big the 12 Pro Max is. The 6.7-inch display, though, does look really good. I mean, it's a huge OLED screen, so it's great for watching movies or YouTube videos. And despite the big size, it's not overly heavy. I'd describe it more as a comfortable solidity. That said, between the size and the steel frame, you also definitely don't want to drop it on your head while watching a video in bed either. The The other thing is that Apple's just still not doing much to take advantage of the big size. Unlike most supersized Android phones, there's still no way to run apps side by side on iOS. iOS 14 has a new picture-in-picture option, but it still feels like Apple's just scratching the surface here. Right now, though, it's basically just a regular iPhone that's just been scaled up to giant proportions. Apple's new design language for the entire iPhone 12 lineup does help the iPhone 12 Pro Max slim down a little too. The squared-off designs help it fit much more comfortably in your hands, and the very grippy and fingerprinty stainless steel makes it easy to at least hold. Look, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a really big iPhone, and at $100 more than the regular one, if you like big iPhones, especially with the new camera system, assuming that pans out, then there's probably a lot to like here. With this year's iPhones, it's starting to feel that Apple has settled that the iPhone 12 is its new default for iPhones. Which means that phones like the 12 Pro Max, the 12 mini are outliers for people who want a smaller, bigger device. But that means that this year there's more choice than ever before, and more choice is always a good thing. Thanks so much for watching. We'll have full reviews for both the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the iPhone 12 mini very soon. What do you want to know about the iPhone 12s? Let us know in the comments.